Welcome to economics class. Today we are going to see another segment that has relation with the demand, which is demand schedule. When we say demand schedule, we mean it is the representation of the quantity demanded alongside the price of a good or service. So as an individual representing a household in an economy has demand for various goods and services. So each individual person can be given a demand schedule. And together, whenever there is a good or service, as long as many people buy that good or service, we can have the demand schedule for a particular good or service. So by definition, as I said, demand schedule, it is the representation of the demand of a good or service in a tabular form. Now, this is an example of a demand schedule for an individual person. Now, on the first column, we have seen the price, and on the second one is plotted the quantity demanded. Now, when the price is 10, the total unit that was demanded is 5. Now, the price increases to 20, and the quantity demanded decrease by 1. That's why we have 4 units demanded. And again, the price increased to 30, and that's why we have 3 units demanded. And the price now rose to 40, and we have only 2 units demanded. And finally, the price increased to 50, which is the peak point, and we have only 1 unit demanded. So what do you mean by this is that if we trace the relationship between the price and quantity demanded, we see the negative relation. As price is increasing, the quantity demanded is decreasing. And if we take the reverse of this example, for example, supposing that the price initially is 50, so the quantity demanded will be 1. And if the price reduced to 40, definitely there will be increase in the quantity demanded from 1 to 2. So this trend will continue up to the minimum price, which is 10, and where we'll have the peak quantity demanded, which is 5. So this is typical to good that is normal. But to abnormal goods, this situation is not found to be true. And what do we mean by this is that we only take the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, forgetting other factors that have relation to the quantity demanded. For example, if the good is detergent, there are other goods that have relation with this detergent. And it is not the only price of the detergent that is affecting the demand of that good. Of course, the income of the consumers, the population of the consumers, and the related price can also affect the quantity demanded. But in this case, we assume all other factors to be constant so that this relation will be like that. But if there is any change in any factors that I have mentioned now, definitely the relation will be different. Now, supposing that we have information concerning the demand for detergent X across 3 individuals, that is Mr. A, Mr. B, and Mr. C. These 3 individuals came to demand for detergent X. And as we can see from this example, when the price is only 10 naira, Mr. A demanded for 5 units of the detergent, and Mr. B demanded for 10 units, while Mr. C demanded for 15 units. Then the price now increased to 20. That caused the demand for Mr. A to drop by 1 unit. Now he demanded for 4 units. And Mr. B demanded for 9 units. And Mr. C demanded for 14 units. Now the price rised to 30 naira. And Mr. A also decreased his demand to 3 units. Mr. B also decreased his demand to 8 units, while Mr. C demanded for only 13 units. Then the price now increased to 40. And that is why Mr. A demanded for 2, Mr. B demanded for 7 units, while Mr. C demanded for 12 units respectively. And finally, the price rose to 50, which is the peak point. Now, Mr. A demanded only for 1 unit of detergent, while Mr. B demanded for 6, and Mr. C demanded for 11. So the reason why that I have presented this demand schedule for detergent is to make you understand that it is not only one single individual that is buying the good, but of course we can add them together and present it in such a way that as if there is only one individual buying the good. For example, now let us take the total of the quantity demanded for the three individuals. Now we have 5 here plus 10 plus 15. We have 30 units of detergent demanded when the price is 10 naira. And when we add this up, we'll have 4 plus 9, 13 plus 14. We have 27. And here we have 3 plus 8, 11 plus 13. We have 24. And here we have 2 plus 7 is 9 plus 12. We have 21. And finally, we have 1 unit plus 6, 7. 7 plus 11, we have 18. Now, when we take only the total and we reflect it with the price, definitely we can have only two columns representing the demand schedule for detergent X. So as I told you earlier, this relationship can only be true if other factors remain constant, as we have seen in the law of demand. Now, as we have seen from the previous example that has several columns, these columns of individuals demanding for detergent is now summed up into only one column. So there is no confusion here. This column represents the demand for 3 individuals. Now, we are going to use this information to plot demand curve. As we know, a demand curve is a graph that contains symbol representing information. Now, in this one, we have the y-axis or the vertical axis representing price. And we have the horizontal axis or x-axis representing quantity demanded. Now, when we take the first one, when the price is when the price is 10 naira, the quantity demanded is 30. So we now trace it. Then we mark it. Now, the price increased to 20 and we have 27 units demanded. So this is our price here. And we have to locate where 27 is. So between this one and this one, we have 5 units. So 27 must be here. So we now trace it. Then the price increased to 30, which is this point, and the quantity demanded is 24. So 24 will be here, close to 25. So this one too, we trace it. At each point, we mark it. Then the price rose to 40, and we have 21 units demanded. So 21 will be here, close to 20. Then we mark it. Then finally, the price rose to 50, and the quantity demanded was 18. So 18 is here. Now, we have concluded tracing our price and the quantity demand. So now, we now draw the curve along these marked points. So through it, we have our demand curve. So by definition, demand curve is a graph that relates price to the quantity demanded of good or service. So based on this, we can understand that there is a negative relation between the price and the quantity demanded. Now, as price is increasing this way, the quantity demanded is decreasing. So that is the relation. But if the price falls, the quantity demanded will increase. That is what this is trying to tell us. But this demand curve tries to give us a reflection about the law of demand, which says the higher the price of goods and services, the lower the quantity demanded, and the lower the price of goods and services, the higher the quantity demanded, other things being constant. This demand curve can only be true if, as I said, other factors remain constant. But if otherwise there is any change in any factors that is affecting demand, the demand curve will not be downward sloping. So it is assumed to be downward sloping. As we have seen an example of a demand curve, then we now focus our attention on change in quantity demanded. What do you mean by that? Is that it is a movement along demand curve. So as we have seen, at each point, reflect the relationship between price and quantity demand. At this point, for example, point 8, we have the price at 50 and the quantity demanded at 18, which is here. Now, the price drops, for example, to 40, and we have the quantity demanded increase to 21. So then we mark it. Then the price now drops to 30, which gave rise to the quantity demanded to be 24, which is this point. See? At point C. And the next point is when the price was 20 naira and the quantity demanded was 27. So we mark it D. And finally, when the price was 10 naira, the quantity demanded was 30. So this is what we call movement along demand curve, or a change in quantity demanded. The reason why that I brought this is to clear a confusion between change in quantity demanded and change in demand. So we are going to see what change in demand is. But for now, we understand what change in quantity demanded is all about. We said it's the movement along demand curve caused by a change in price. So as we said, we assume other factors to be constant. All these examples is a reflection of a normal demand or a demand for normal goods. But in the case of abnormal demand or demand for abnormal goods, then this example will be entirely different. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to look at the change in demand. They look similar, but there is a difference, a slight difference between the two. In this one, we said change in quantity demanded. We mean that we are focusing our attention only in the change in the own price of the good to see how the quantity will react, or to see how the consumers will react, because they are the consumers that are buying the good. Now, we assume that the price of the good is constant. That means, for example, now we take this one. We assume the price to be 30 naira, and the quantity demanded is 24. So there is no increase in the price of detergent X, and also there is no decrease in the price of detergent X. So we assume it to be constant. We now assume that there is change in the price of detergent Y. So detergent X and Y are related because they serve the same purpose. So any change in the price of any one of them will cause an effect in the demand for another. So as we said, the price is 30 naira and the quantity demanded for detergent X is 24 units. So we are now going to draw the graph and see how this can happen. Now, as I said, we assume the price to be constant for detergent X. So the price is here 30 naira and the quantity demanded is here 24 units. So there is no change in the price. But the price of, let's say, detergent Y has increased. So that means those that are buying detergent Y will change their decision to come and buy detergent X. Why? Because they serve the same purpose. So the quantity demanded of detergent X will change, even though the price is not changing. So now, what causes change in quantity demanded for detergent X is not the price, it's the price of a related good. Now, suppose there is an increase in the price of detergent Y, and those that are buying, as I said, now switch to buy detergent X. So before it was 24 units that was demanded at the price of 30, but now the quantity demanded is 48 and at the same price. So nothing is happening to this price. Only the quantity demanded now changes from 24 to 48. So if this happens, then we have what we call increase in demand or shift in demand curve from left to right. Now we can understand that there is increase in demand for detergent X caused by the increase in the price of detergent Y. Now, as we have seen, there are two goods here, detergent X and detergent Y. And in the case of detergent X, there is no change in price, as we said in this case. But in detergent Y, there is an increase in the price. Initially, it was 25 naira, but now it is 40 naira. So when it was 25 naira, people are buying only detergent X at the price of 30 naira. So those that are buying detergent Y continue to buy it. But suddenly there is an increase in the price from 25 to 40. And then those that are buying detergent Y now decide to buy detergent X. Why? Because the price has increased. So that is why the quantity demanded for detergent X has increased from 24 to 48. Why? Because there is increase in the price of detergent Y. So in this case, we have a shift in demand curve from left to right. That is why we call it change in demand. And it is caused, as I said, by the price of related good. This is one factor among many that are affecting demand for goods and services. Now, suppose those that are selling detergent Y realize that there is a decrease in the demand for their product. Why? Because they increased the price from 25 naira to 40 naira, as we have seen. Now, they decide to attract more customers by reducing the price from 40 to 30 naira. So those that switch away from buying their product before have now changed their mind to buy it. And including those that are buying detergent X can even decide to buy detergent Y, maybe because it is more qualitative than detergent X. Now, suppose the quantity demanded of detergent X is here, 24. But because there is a fall in the price of detergent Y, the quantity demanded for detergent X has decreased to 20. That means 4 units of detergent X is sacrificed by the consumers to buy detergent Y because there is a fall in the price. So in this case, we have a decrease in demand caused by the price of a good that has a relation with the good we are talking about. That means detergent X and detergent Y. So in this case, as I said, the price of detergent X has remained constant throughout our example. There is no change in the price. Only the price in detergent Y is decreasing and decreasing. And this has caused a negative effect and sometimes a positive effect in the demand for detergent X. So that is what we call a change in demand. Before we conclude, these are the things we have discussed so far in today's class. We have seen demand schedule, which we said is the representation of the quantity demanded along the price of goods and services. And later on, we have seen demand curve, which is plotted based on the demand schedule. Demand curve, we said, is the graph that relates price and the quantity demanded of goods and services. And finally, we have seen the change in quantity demanded, which we said is the movement along demand curve caused by the on price of goods and services. And finally, we have seen the change in demand, which is a shift in demand curve caused by a change in any one of the factors that are affecting demand, which we said include the price of related goods, income of the consumers, and maybe weather or population of the consumer. So if there is change in any one of these factors, it will cause the change in demand. So these are the things we have discussed so far. Before we go, as I said, we would like to be reviewing your comment if there is any need to clarify any explanation that we have made so far. Thank you.